I don't think I love you no more. You never seem to call me lately, but I don't think she knew me at all.
Alright, today's video is going to be on blood pattern analysis. I got a hold of a blood pattern analysis expert or analyst and asked him a few simple questions that I could come up with. I got his answers. Same as the DNA video, we're going to go over the questions, the answer, and then what I think about his answer. First, I'm going to start off with reading some of his credentials. As always, we're going to call him Professor Gravel. We'll just say that. So, he is a retired lieutenant with the Oklahoma Police Department. During his 25 years of service at the department, he was assigned to the Investigations Bureau, serving as detective in larceny, missing persons, robbery, and homicide units. He was promoted to the rank of lieutenant in 1998 and served as a supervisor in the crime scene unit for 10 years preceding his retirement. He holds a Master's of Arts in Criminal Justice Administration and a Bachelor of Science degree in Education from Oklahoma City University. He has 19 years of experience, advanced training in blood stain pattern analysis. Gravel is certified bloodstain pattern examiner through the International Association for Identification. He has been an adjunct professor at the University of Central Oklahoma since 2002, instructing basic and advanced bloodstain pattern analysis in the Master of Forensic Science program. He served on the University of Central Oklahoma's Master of Forensic Science Advisory Board. He has also taught at the University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State University. He has lectured on bloodstain pattern analysis for various organizations such as the FBI Regional Organized Crime Information Center, Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation, and the Smoky Mountain Criminal Justice Conference. He has 15 years of teaching and lecturing experience. He is a charter member of the Association Crime Scene Reconstruction, where he has served as a board member from 2004 to 2006. He is a member in good standing with the International Association of Bloodstain Pattern Analysis, International Association for Identification, Oklahoma Division of the International Association for Identification, and the International Association of Crime Analysts. He is certified by the IAI as Bloodstain Pattern Examiner. So, with that being said, he knows what he's talking about. Your Honor, I would like to present Professor Gravel as a bloodstain pattern expert. Alright, so I'm having to read this off of my phone because I couldn't get my printer to work, so I'm shooting this from my laptop. So let me switch to my phone. I'm trying to pull up the answers and questions now. Oh, let's see. Jesus Christ, takes forever. Alright. Come on. Here we go. First question. If someone was shot in a cluttered garage, would it, with the .22 rifle, 5 to 10 times, hold on, this thing, would it be possible for a person to find and clean up all the blood? Now, this guy differs from our DNA expert. Our DNA expert gave us thorough scientific answers. This guy is kind of like straightforward. So some of his answers are very short. So we'll just, put our opinion on it. So let me read the question again. If someone was shot in a cluttered garage with a .22 rifle 5 to 10 times, would it be possible for a person to find and clean up all the blood? This is his answer. I would think it would be very difficult to clean up and find all of the blood. So, as we know, if somebody was shot in a garage, we talked about the spatter, we talked about, soaking into the concrete, flying on objects that you wouldn't be able to find it and clean it up. So, judging by what he says, judging by what we know, I think at a minimum, if Stephen Avery did shoot Teresa Halbach, it wasn't in the trailer or the garage. So the whole state's theory, in my opinion, is flawed and is false. And I got some other examples of that later. Another question, question 2. If someone was stabbed and had their throat cut on a bed, would it be possible to get all of the blood out of the mattress? His answer was no. So that was it. He got straight to the point. No. So that's basically, which we already know the confession was coerced, but that basically refutes any attempt for the state to try to say that Teresa Halbach, was stabbed, had her throat cut on that bed. That never happened. It's impossible. We've been saying that never happened. Next question. If a suspect has a deep cut on his finger and is actively bleeding, would it be normal if he were driving a car for, let's say, 5 minutes and only have blood in a small transfer spot by the ignition, one passive blood drop inside a door jamb and a small drop on a CD case? His answer was, it depends on the wound and if he had the cut wrapped or not. Okay. Well, if he had gloves on, that would be a more plausible theory, because then you could say, well, it's actively bleeding inside the glove, but only certain drops are getting out. But it wouldn't, if he had gloves on, it wouldn't make sense for him to have touch DNA. If he had only the wound wrapped and didn't have gloves on, then he would have left fingerprints and touch DNA in a lot of other places on the vehicle than just the hood latch, which we've already covered in previous videos. He touches around 17 items on the vehicle, and he would have left, if he didn't have gloves on but had the wound wrapped up, he still would have left touch DNA all over the vehicle, especially how Ken Kratz says that he's so sweaty. Next question. If someone is laying on a garage floor, now this question I asked is because of Brendan Dassey's false testimony or confession. If someone was laying on a garage floor next to a car and was shot 5 to 10 times, wouldn't it be plausible that you would have missed blood spots on the car next to the body and possibly even on the chassis underneath? His answer is, you always expect to find back spatter, but you don't always find it. Now then we're talking about, he said back spatter. That's spatter that comes back towards the shooter. You only have forward spatter if there's an exit wound. And I would expect to find forward spatter. So, in other words, what he's saying is, if Brendan Dassey's testimony or confession were true, and she was shot laying on the garage floor next to the RAV, then her blood would have been on the side of that car, on the tires, on the rims, on the chassis underneath. There was none of that. Okay? What he's saying is, you're only going to have forward spatter if there's an exit wound. Well, a .22 rifle typically won't come through and through. There won't be a through and through shot on a body. It just depends on how close you are. There's a bunch of different factors. However, the state with item FL claims that bullet was shot through her head. We all know it wasn't. And so, according to their theory, according to how they convicted Stephen Avery, it was a through and through shot, so there would have been spatter, and you would expect to find spatter. Not to mention all the blood that would have leaked all over the floor into the cracks, and then with the exit wound, you have the spatter on the car, potentially on the walls, back spatter on the gun. So none of that adds up, what the state is claiming, and this basically says that. Now, a bullet that has been shot through a body, this is the next question. A bullet that has been shot through a body, wouldn't it be expected to find blood evidence, tissue, or bone embedded in the bullet? He says no. Objection, Your Honor. Yes, I'm objecting to my own expert witness. The reason why I say that is because, I don't know, I'm thinking he had a brain fart on this one. But in the event that he believes it's possible you could shoot a bullet through a body and not have any evidence from that body on the bullet, Maybe that's possible. He knows more than I do. I just don't think it's plausible. But here is the problem with the state. The state said Teresa Halbach's DNA is on the bullet, right? Okay. Well, it wasn't blood DNA. It wasn't tissue embedded in the bullet. First of all, it wasn't nothing on the bullet but wood. And there wasn't bone embedded in the wood. So if there's no blood, if there's no bone, if there's no tissue, then what DNA of hers is on the bullet? You know, is it touch DNA? Is it skin cells? What are you claiming? What part of her DNA, you know, from what source is on the bullet then? Which we know it's all a lie, but I'm saying these are questions that should have been asked, you know, if they'd had a blood spatter expert on the stand and they didn't. However, nonetheless, let's move on. Number 6, what would be your thoughts about this blood stain? To me, the bottom edge of this blood stain are consistent with the Q-tip. In this, I'm showing him the picture of the blood stain by the ignition, because it has, where it starts out, it has the two little Q-tip looking spots where it starts and then it smears. Let me see if I can put this phone up here. If you look closely, the bottom of the stain is two circle where the stains start, and it looks like Q-tips to me. Well, he says that the picture does not provide enough information for me to make a determination. And that's understandable, you know, because it's hard. It'd be hard just to look at a picture and be able to determine that. However, Kathleen Zellner's expert has thoroughly examined this and said that this particular stain, without a doubt, is planted with a swab. So all of the information collected, you know, from different experts, you know, different sources on the internet, different thought processes, different experts, refutes all of the physical evidence in the trailer, or the lack thereof, in the garage, in the RAV. None of it adds up. So when you're talking about prosecuting somebody for murder, it's not like you have one thing that's kind of iffy. We're talking about the murder didn't happen in the trailer. The evidence shows it didn't happen in the garage. The evidence shows that the key was planted. Some of the blood was planted. And I also did research, like, you know, even about the flakes. There was no source above those flakes to produce the flakes so they could fall on the floor. Those flakes is a big piece of evidence in this case. The only having touch DNA on that hood latch, and having the amount, 1.8 nanograms, having that amount on the hood latch is a big problem in this case. So you have all of these discrepancies in evidence. At a minimum, the jury, it should have been a hung jury. He should have had a new trial, because he was not proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty. There's many, many, many doubts. Okay? So that's just some of the things I asked him, and he was also, like the DNA expert, he was also pretty nice. So I'm sure in a few weeks, if I emailed him again, it probably wouldn't be a problem, you know, if I asked him a few more questions. So just like the last video, if y'all have any blood questions, comment and leave the questions in the comment section so I can ask him. So pretty much, to me, the blood in the RAV can be refuted by a blood stain analyst looking at all of the evidence. So it really boils down to, can Kathleen get an evidentiary hearing? I really believe if she can get an evidentiary hearing and be able to lay out everything that we have been talking about and everything that she has discovered and uncovered, I cannot see a situation where they wouldn't grant him a new trial. So that's going to be it for today. Like this video, comment any of your questions, concerns in the comment section. Please subscribe so we can reach out to more people. and y'all have a rest of y'all's beautiful day.